The transport shuttle was small and old. It made strange noises as it flew through space toward the massive station that floated near a dying star. Inside the shuttle sat a young woman named. She looked out the window at the academy and smiled. Celestial Prime Academy was the most famous school in the entire galaxy. Students from over 800 different species came here to learn. Only the best could enter. Only the strongest could stay. And now, for the first time in history, a human was about to walk through its doors. Was not tall. She was not impressive to look at. She had dark hair, brown eyes, and soft skin that seemed very fragile compared to the other species in the galaxy. She wore simple clothes and carried only one small bag. When the shuttle landed and the door opened, she stepped out into a world that had never seen anything like her. The docking bay was enormous. Hundreds of students walked in every direction. Some had scales, some had wings, some floated in the air without bodies at all. A group of tall creatures with crystal skin stopped and stared at. Their eyes were like diamonds, and they looked at her the way someone might look at a small insect. "Is that the human?" one of them asked. His name was, and he was a prince from the Empire. He stood 8 feet tall, and his crystal skin reflected the lights of the station like a living mirror. He was the top-ranked student at the academy, and everyone knew his name. "It must be," said another. "Look how small and weak it is. I heard humans cannot even survive in space without machines to help them breathe." Laughed. It was not a kind laugh. The council must be joking. Humans barely left their own solar system 100 years ago. What could this creature possibly learn here? Heard them. She had good ears, better than most aliens knew. But she did not react. She simply walked forward, following the signs toward the registration office. She had learned long ago that anger was a tool and tools should not be wasted. The registration office was run by a being named Instructor, had no body that could see. He was made of pure energy, floating like a small sun behind a desk made of strange metal. When approached, the energy flickered. "Human," said. His voice came from everywhere and nowhere. "You are the first of your kind to attend this academy. Do you understand what that means?" "Yes," said. Her voice was calm and polite. "It means everyone will be watching me." "It means everyone will be waiting for you to fail," corrected. "The Galactic Union does not trust your species. You are young. You are violent. Your history is filled with war and destruction. Many believe you should not be here at all." Nodded. "I understand. I will do my best." Stared at her for a long moment. Then his energy flickered again, almost like a shrug. "You have been assigned to dormitory level 7. It is the lowest level. Your equipment will be provided, though I warn you, it is not the good luck, human. You will need it." Took her assignment card and bowed slightly. "Thank you, Instructor." She walked away and watched her go. There was something about the way she moved that made him curious. She walked like someone who was used to being underestimated, like someone who had learned to hide what she really was. Dormitory level 7 was exactly as bad as expected. The rooms were small. The beds were hard. The equipment was old and sometimes did not work properly, but did not complain. She unpacked her small bag, set up her space, and sat down to read the academy handbook. Outside her door, she could hear other students talking about her. "Did you see the human? She is so tiny. I heard humans die if they get too cold, or too hot, or if they do not eat for a few days. My professor said humans are barely more intelligent than animals. They still believe in things like love and friendship." Smiled at that last comment. Humans did believe in love and friendship. They also believed in revenge, but she decided not to think about that right now. The next morning was orientation day. All new students gathered in the Great Hall, a room so large that clouds actually formed near the ceiling. Thousands of students sat in floating chairs, organized by species. Sat alone in a chair designed for a species much larger than her. Her feet did not touch the ground. Instructor floated at the front of the hall and began to speak. He talked about the history of the academy. He talked about the rules. He talked about the honor of being chosen to study here. And then he began to introduce the new students by species. When he reached the human section, there was only one name. Of Earth, announced, the first human to attend Celestial Prime Academy. The hall went silent. Then slowly the laughter began. It started as whispers, then grew louder. Students pointed at her. Some made jokes in languages she did not understand. Others simply stared with disgust. Stood up from his seat among the. He was a senior student, and when he spoke, others listened. "This is an insult to our academy," he declared. His crystal voice rang through the hall. "Humans are primitives. They have contributed nothing to galactic civilization. They fight among themselves like beasts. This creature will wash out within one cycle, and we will all be embarrassed that she was ever allowed to enter." The crowd cheered. Some students stamped their feet, others made sounds of agreement. Sat quietly through all of it. She did not argue, she did not defend herself. She simply watched and listened and remembered every face, every voice, every insult. And she smiled. After the orientation ended, students began to leave the hall. Walked toward the exit, but a commotion near the door made her stop. A group of workers was moving equipment, and one of them lost control of a large anti-gravity crate. The crate was falling toward a small alien student, a creature that looked like a child made of glass. Without thinking, moved. She crossed 10 meters in less than a second, reached up and caught the crate with both hands. It was heavy, probably 500 kilograms, but she held it steady until the workers could take it back. The glass child looked up at her with wide eyes. "Thank you," it whispered. "Be careful," said gently. Then she set down the crate and walked away as if nothing had happened. No one noticed, no one except one person. In the corner of the hall, a woman was cleaning the floor. She wore the uniform of a janitor, and her face was plain and forgettable. But her eyes were sharp, and they followed as she left. The woman's name was. She was also human, and she had been waiting a very long time for someone like to arrive. Smiled and continued cleaning. The game was about to begin. 3 days passed since arrived at the academy. In those 3 days, she learned many things. She learned which hallways to avoid because certain species did not like humans walking near them. She learned which food in the cafeteria would not make her sick. And she learned that loneliness was a familiar feeling, even in a station filled with thousands of students. But today was different. Today was the day of the Endurance Gauntlet. The Endurance Gauntlet was the Academy's most famous test. Every new student had to complete it within their first week. The test was designed to push each species to exactly 80% of their biological maximum, not enough to kill them, just enough to show what they were made of. Stood in line with the other new students, waiting for her turn. The testing arena was a massive room that could change its shape and environment based on who was inside. For the rock-like creatures called, the arena became a crushing pressure chamber. For the bird-like, it became a storm of wind and lightning. Each species faced a test designed specifically for their biology. A tall student with blue skin and no eyes approached. His name was, and he was a species known for their powerful telepathic abilities. Did not need eyes because they could see through the minds of others. "You are the human," said. It was not a question. "Yes," replied. "I am curious about your species. May I look inside your mind? It will only take a moment." Considered this. She had heard of telepathy. Most species feared it, but had nothing to hide, or at least nothing she did not want him to see. "Okay," she said. Reached out with his mind. For a moment, felt a gentle pressure behind her eyes like someone pressing a finger against a window, then made a sound she had never heard before. It was something between a gasp and a scream. He stumbled backward, his blue skin turning pale. "What is wrong?" another student asked. Shook his head. His hands were trembling. "Her mind," he whispered. "It is like nothing I have ever felt. It is too fast, too loud, too many thoughts at once. It is like staring into a hurricane made of lightning." The other students looked at with new eyes. She simply shrugged. "Humans think a lot," she said. "We cannot help it." Before anyone could ask more questions, his name was called. It was her turn to enter the arena. The testing room doors opened and walked inside. The room was empty at first, just white walls and a flat floor. Then a voice spoke from somewhere above. "Subject human, species classification primitive biped, Earth, loading appropriate test parameters." Waited. She knew the Academy's database had information about humans, but she also knew that information was very old. The Galactic Union had studied Earth decades ago, back when humans were still building their first space stations. They did not know what humans had become since then. The room began to change. The floor became soft sand. The temperature increased. A bright light appeared overhead, simulating a hot sun, and then the test began. Obstacles appeared in front of her. She had to run. She had to climb. She had to jump over gaps and crawl under barriers. The sand made every step difficult. The heat made breathing hard, but kept moving. She ran for 10 minutes, then 20, then 30. Outside the arena, the instructors watched the monitors with growing confusion. "The test should have ended by now," one of them said. "Her biological maximum should have been reached." "Check the species data," another instructor ordered. They looked at the file. According to the Galactic Archives, humans could run for approximately 15 minutes before exhaustion. Their bodies overheated quickly. Their muscles failed under extended stress. The test had been designed based on this data, but was still running, and she was not even breathing hard. Inside the arena, felt almost bored. The heat was nothing compared to summers on Earth. The running was nothing compared to the training she had done back home. Humans had evolved as persistence predators. They could chase prey for hours, days even, until the prey simply fell down from exhaustion. This test was designed for the weak humans of 100 years ago. It had no idea what a modern, trained human could do. She completed the course in 47 minutes. The previous record for her difficulty level was 32 minutes, held by a species with 4 legs and 2 hearts. When she walked out of the arena, the other students were silent, stared at her with his eyeless face. Even, who was watching from an observation platform above, had stopped laughing. "That was a good warm-up," said quietly. "When does the real test start?" No one answered. After the gauntlet, went to the cafeteria to eat. She was hungry but not exhausted. She chose a table in the corner, alone as always, and began to eat a simple meal of protein and vegetables. A few minutes later, someone sat down across from her, looked up and saw a student she had not met before. This student had scales that shimmered like water and gills on the sides of her neck. Her eyes were large and dark, like deep pools. "Hello," the student said. "My name is I am a Nereid. May I sit with you?" Was surprised. No one had asked to sit with her since she arrived. "Yes, please." Smiled. Her teeth were small and sharp, but her smile was kind. "I watched your test today. It was very impressive." "Thank you." "I am curious about you," continued. "Everyone says humans are weak and primitive, but you do not seem weak to me. You caught that falling crate on orientation day. I saw it. And today you broke a record without even trying." Ate another bite of food before answering. "Humans are not what the galaxy thinks we are. The information in the archives is very old. We have changed." "Changed how?" Thought about how to explain. "On Earth, we were not the strongest animals. We were not the fastest. We did not have claws or fangs or armor, but we survived because we could adapt. We could learn. We could keep going when other creatures gave up. That is what makes humans dangerous, not our strength, our stubbornness." Leaned forward, fascinated. "Tell me more." And so did. She told about persistence hunting, how ancient humans would chase animals for hours until the animals died from exhaustion. She told her about the human immune system, which could adapt to fight diseases it had never seen before. She told her about adrenaline, the chemical that gave humans impossible strength in moments of danger. "Your species sounds terrifying," said, but she was smiling. "We can be," admitted, "but we have learned to control ourselves, most of the time." Laughed, it was a bubbling sound like water over stones. "I think I like you of Earth. I think we will be friends." Felt something warm in her chest. It had been a long time since anyone had wanted to be her friend. "I would like that," she said. From across the cafeteria watched them talking. His crystal eyes were narrow with thought. The human had surprised him today. She had made him look foolish with her performance in the gauntlet. He did not like being surprised. He did not like looking foolish. He would have to test her himself. And when he did, he would prove once and for all that humans were nothing but primitive beasts pretending to be civilized. But deep down, in a place he did not want to examine, felt something he had not felt in a very long time. He felt doubt. And in the shadows of the cafeteria, the janitor wiped a table and watched everything unfold. She had seen the test scores. She had heard the whispers spreading through the station. The academy was beginning to ask questions about humans, questions that had been buried for a very long time. Good thought, let them ask, let them wonder, let them fear. Because the galaxy was about to learn what humanity really was, and nothing would ever be the same. 2 weeks had passed since the endurance gauntlet, and the whispers about had not stopped. They had grown louder. Students who once laughed at her now watched her with curious eyes. Instructors who had ignored her now paid attention when she spoke in class. Something was changing in the academy, and everyone could feel it. Felt it most of all. The prince had spent his entire life being the best. He was the strongest student at the academy, the fastest, the most skilled in combat. His family had ruled their empire for 10,000 years and had been trained since birth to continue that legacy. He had never met anyone who could challenge him. Until now. He found in the training hall one evening. She was alone, practicing basic combat forms with her eyes closed. Her movements were simple, almost boring. Nothing like the elegant fighting styles of the more advanced species. But there was something about the way she moved that bothered, something he could not name. "Human," he called out. Opened her eyes and looked at him. She did not seem surprised or afraid. She simply waited. "I want to challenge you," said. "A combat simulation, just you and me. I want to see what you are really capable of." "Why?" asked. The question caught off guard. No one ever asked him why. Everyone simply did what he wanted because he was a prince, because he was powerful, because they were afraid. "Because I do not believe what the others are saying about you," he finally answered. "They think you are special. I think you are lucky. I want to prove it." Considered this for a moment, then she nodded. "Okay, but I have a condition." "What condition?" "When I win, you have to stop bullying the other human on this station. The janitor. Her name is, I have seen how your friends treat her. It stops today." Laughed. "You think you will win, against me?" "Yes," said simply. "Do you accept?" Something about her confidence made angry. It was disrespectful. It was arrogant. It was exactly what he would have said if their positions were reversed. "I accept," he growled. "And when I win, you will admit in front of the entire academy that humans are inferior, that you do not belong here." "Deal." They went to the advanced combat simulation room together. Word spread quickly, and soon dozens of students gathered to watch. Even some instructors came. Everyone wanted to see the prince destroy the human girl who had been causing so much trouble. The simulation room created a simple arena, a flat stone floor surrounded by invisible walls. No weapons, no special abilities, just pure combat skill. Took his position on one side of the arena. His crystal skin began to glow as he prepared for battle. Among this glow was a sign of power. It meant he was taking the fight seriously. Stood on the other side. She looked small, fragile, completely outmatched. She did not glow. She did not make any dramatic preparations. She simply stood there with her hands at her sides. "Begin," announced the simulation system. "Attacked." He moved faster than most species could see. His crystal fist cut through the air like a blade, aimed directly at its head. It was a blow that could shatter stone, a blow that could kill. But was not there. She had moved, not far, just a few inches to the side. His fist passed through empty air. He spun and attacked again, faster this time. Again moved. Again he missed. "Stand still," roared. But did not stand still. She kept moving, always just barely out of reach. She did not attack. She did not fight back. She simply dodged. And dodged. And dodged. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes. 15. Was getting tired. His crystal skin was dimming. Sweat that looked like liquid silver ran down his face, but looked exactly the same as when they started. She was not even breathing hard. "How are you doing this?" demanded between attacks. Tilted her head slightly. "Your muscles move before you attack. Small movements, tiny signals. Most species cannot see them, but humans can. We evolved to read body language. I know what you are going to do about 1/3 of a second before you do it." "That is impossible." "It is biology," corrected. "Humans survived on Earth by understanding other creatures, by predicting what they would do. It is not magic. It is simply what we are." Screamed in frustration and launched his most powerful attack. He put everything he had into one final blow, a strike that could have destroyed a small building. His fist flew towards chest. She caught it. Her small human hand wrapped around his crystal fist and held it in place. Tried to pull away, but he could not move. She was stronger than she looked, much stronger. "You are fast," said calmly. "You are powerful, but you waste energy. You get angry and lose focus. And you have never had to fight someone you could not easily beat. That is your weakness." She released his hand and stepped back. "I will not hit you," she continued. "There is no need, you have already lost." As if to prove her point, his legs gave out. He collapsed to his knees, completely exhausted. He had used all his energy trying to hit someone who simply refused to be hit. His body had nothing left. The watching crowd was completely silent. Walked over to and knelt down so she could look into his eyes. "You are a good fighter," she said quietly, so only he could hear. "But good is not enough. If you want to be great, you have to stop thinking you already are." She stood up and walked out of the arena. No celebration, no bragging. She had made her point and now she was done. That night the academy changed forever. Students stayed up late talking about what they had seen, but more importantly, they started researching. They went to the archives and searched for everything they could find about humans, and what they found terrified them. Humans could run for hours without stopping. They called it persistence hunting, and it was how they had survived as a species. They would chase prey until the prey simply fell down and died from exhaustion. Humans could heal from injuries that would kill most species. Broken bones would fix themselves. Cut skin would grow back together. Even damaged organs could sometimes repair themselves over time. Humans bonded emotionally with anything. Other humans, animals, even machines. They formed connections with creatures that would eat them and somehow made those creatures love them back. Humans consumed poison for fun. Caffeine, alcohol, capsaicin. Substances that would kill other species, humans put in their food and drinks for enjoyment. Humans had survived an extinction event. A massive asteroid had hit their planet millions of years ago, wiping out most life. But humans survived. They adapted. They became stronger. And perhaps most terrifying of all, humans were violent. Their history was filled with wars, with weapons, with destruction. They had invented thousands of ways to kill each other: nuclear bombs, biological weapons, machines designed for nothing but death. As the students read more and more, a terrible question began to form in their minds. Why had humans really been kept out of the academy for so long? It was not because they were weak. The records proved that was a lie. It was because the Galactic Union was afraid. In her dormitory room, sat by the window and looked out at the stars. She knew the students were learning the truth. She had planned for this moment. Every time she held back her strength, every time she pretended to be harmless, she was waiting for the right moment to show them what humans really were. But she also knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy would not accept humans easily. There would be resistance. There would be fear. There might even be violence. Was ready for all of it. Because she was human, and humans never gave up. In the hallway outside her room, walked past, still wearing her janitor uniform. She smiled to herself as she heard the excited voices of students discussing humanity. The plan was working perfectly. Soon, the academy would understand. Soon, the entire galaxy would understand. Humans were not primitives pretending to be civilized. They were predators pretending to be harmless. And pretending was about to end. The alarms woke everyone at 3 in the morning. Was already awake, reading in her room when the red lights began to flash. A voice echoed through the station, calm but urgent. All students proceed to the central bunker. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. The station is under attack. Grabbed her jacket and stepped into the hallway. Students were running everywhere, panic on their faces. She saw swimming through the air on a wave of water she had created. Called out, "We have to go. They said it is the Void Swarm." Felt her heart grow cold. She had heard of the Void Swarm. Everyone in the galaxy had. They were cosmic parasites, creatures made of nothing but hunger. They drifted through space looking for energy to consume. They had destroyed entire planets, entire civilizations. And now they were here. She followed toward the central bunker, but the hallways were filled with chaos. Students were pushing and screaming. Some were too afraid to move at all. Saw a young student, the same glass child she had saved on orientation day, frozen in terror against a wall. "Go ahead," told, "I will catch up." She ran to the glass child and knelt down. "Hey, look at me. What is your name?" "Minyu," the child whispered. His glass body was shaking so hard it made a ringing sound. "Okay, Minyu, I need you to be brave. Can you do that for me?" The child nodded slowly. Picked him up. He was lighter than he looked, maybe 30 kilograms. She held him against her chest and started running toward the bunker. But before she could get there, the station shook violently. The lights flickered, and then the wall in front of her exploded. The Void Swarm had breached the station. The creature that came through the wall was like nothing had ever seen. It had no real shape, just a mass of darkness that seemed to eat the light around it. Where it touched the floor, the metal turned gray and crumbled to dust. It was not just attacking the station. It was feeding on it. Students screamed and ran, but some were not fast enough. Watched in horror as a void creature touched a young student. The bird-like alien did not even have time to scream. One moment he was there, and the next he was gone, his life force drained in an instant. Set Minyu down behind a support pillar. "Stay here, do not move." "What are you going to do?" Minyu asked, his glass eyes wide. Did not answer. She was already walking toward the void creature. "Are you insane?" someone shouted. It was the who had tried to read her mind. He was pressed against a wall, too afraid to run. "You will die. Humans cannot survive contact with the void." Ignored him. She kept walking toward the creature. The Void Swarm sensed her approach. It turned, if something without a front or back could turn, and moved toward her. Its hunger was almost physical, pressing against her mind like a weight. Did not stop. The creature lunged at her. its dark form wrapped around her arm, trying to drain her life force. And nothing happened. The void creature pulled back, confused. It tried again, this time grabbing her leg, still nothing. It was feeding on her, but her body was producing energy faster than the creature could consume it. Her heart was pumping blood. Her cells were burning fuel. Her human biology was fighting back. "Humans do not die easily," said. Then she attacked. She grabbed the void creature with her bare hands. It felt like holding smoke made of ice, but she did not let go. She squeezed, and her fingers found something solid inside the darkness. A core. A center. She crushed it. The creature exploded into nothing, dissolving into the air like a bad dream. Stood there breathing hard. Her hands were burned from the creature's touch, the skin red and raw. But already she could feel her body healing, cells dividing, tissue regenerating. More creatures were coming through the breach. 3, 5, 10, too many for her to fight alone. She turned and saw running toward her. The janitor had thrown away her cleaning uniform. Underneath, she wore combat clothes, black and practical, and she was not alone. Behind her came 3 more humans people had never noticed before, engineers who worked in the lower levels of the station. "How many are you?" asked. "5 of us total," said. "We have been hiding here for years waiting, but I think waiting is over." From the hallway behind them came another figure, an older man with gray hair and kind eyes. Recognized him. Instructor, one of the few faculty members who had been kind to her. "You are human?" asked, surprised. Smiled grimly. "I am the one who convinced the council to let you in. I thought it was time the galaxy saw what humanity could do. I did not expect the demonstration to come so soon." The void creatures were getting closer. The 5 humans stood together, facing the swarm. "We cannot win," one of the engineers said. His name was, and he was shaking with fear. "There are too many." "We do not have to win," replied. "We just have to hold them back until the military arrives. We have to give the others time to escape." "For how long?" asked. Looked at the swarm of darkness coming toward them. "However long it takes." And then the humans attacked. It was not pretty. It was not elegant. Humans did not fight with grace and style like the. They fought with desperation and fury. They fought with the violence of a species that had spent its entire history killing and surviving and refusing to die. Moved through the swarm like a storm. She grabbed creatures and tore them apart. She took hits that should have killed her and kept fighting. Adrenaline flooded her system, that ancient human chemical that turned fear into power. Fought beside her, just as fierce. The older woman had clearly been trained for combat, and she used every technique she knew. When a creature grabbed her arm, she simply kept fighting with the other one until the creature was dead. Protected the students who had not made it to the bunker. He created barriers from broken furniture and led groups to safety, while the other humans held the line. Was hurt badly early in the fight. A creature had clawed his chest, leaving deep wounds that bled freely. But he did not stop. He wrapped his shirt around the wound and kept fighting. The other 2 engineers, whose names never learned, died holding a doorway so that a group of young students could escape. They did not scream. They did not beg. They simply fought until they could not fight anymore. The battle lasted 43 minutes. When the military ships finally arrived and burned the void swarm from space, only 3 humans were still standing, and were covered in wounds, surrounded by the dissolving remains of dozens of void creatures. The students who had been hiding in the bunker came out slowly. They saw the hallways filled with destruction. They saw the places where their classmates had died. And they saw the humans standing in the middle of it all, barely alive but refusing to fall. Pushed through the crowd. He stared at with an expression she had never seen on his face before. "You saved us," he said. His crystal voice was barely a whisper. "You could have run, you could have hidden, but you stayed and fought." Looked at him. Her vision was blurring from blood loss, and she could feel her body struggling to stay conscious, but she managed to speak. "That is what humans do," she said. "We protect the people we care about, even if it kills us." Then she collapsed. When she woke up 3 days later in the medical bay, the first thing she saw was sitting beside her bed. He was not wearing his princely clothes. He was not glowing with power. He just looked like a young man who had not slept in days. "You are awake," he said. "The doctors were not sure you would survive." "Humans are stubborn," replied. Her voice was rough, but she managed a small smile. Was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke words that clearly cost him a great deal of pride. "I was wrong about you, about all humans. I am sorry." Reached out and touched his crystal hand. It was cold and hard, so different from human skin. "I forgive you," she said. "Now let us make sure this never happens again." Outside the medical bay, the galaxy was changing. News of what the humans had done was spreading to every planet, every station, every corner of civilization. The story of 5 humans holding back the void swarm was being told and retold. And for the first time in history, the galaxy was beginning to understand. Humans were not primitives. Humans were warriors. And the universe would never underestimate them again. 1 month had passed since the void swarm attack, and the academy was slowly returning to normal. The damaged sections had been repaired. Classes had resumed. Students walked through the hallways again, laughing and talking and studying. But everything had changed. Walked through the main corridor, and this time no one laughed at her. No one pointed or whispered insults. Instead, students moved aside to let her pass. Some bowed their heads in respect. A few even said hello. It was strange, thought. A month ago she had been invisible, now she was famous. The Academy Council had offered her everything. The best dormitory room, the equipment, a special status as a hero of the station. She had refused all of it. "I did not come here for rewards," she had told them. "I came here to learn. I want to be treated like every other student, nothing more." The council had not understood. In their experience, everyone wanted power and recognition. The idea that someone would refuse these things was foreign to them. But they were learning. Slowly, the galaxy was learning what humans were really like. Found waiting for her outside the cafeteria. The Nereid had visited her every day while she was recovering in the medical bay. She had brought news from the academy, stories about classes was missing, gossip about other students. She had been a true friend. "Good morning," said, her scales shimmering in the light. "Are you ready for today?" Took a deep breath. "I think so." Today was the day the Galactic Union Council would arrive. They were coming to discuss what they called the human question. For years, humans had been kept at the edges of galactic society. They were allowed to travel in space, but not welcomed. They could trade with other species, but never as equals. The Council had decided long ago that humans were too dangerous to fully integrate. But after what happened at the Academy, that decision was being questioned. The Great Hall had been transformed for the meeting. Thousands of chairs faced a central platform where would stand. Representatives from over 200 species had come to watch. This was the most important moment in human history since they first left Earth. Found before the meeting began. The older woman had recovered from her injuries, though she walked with a slight limp now. She would probably always walk with that limp, but she did not seem to mind. "Are you nervous?" asked. "Yes," admitted. "I'm about to speak for all of humanity. What if I say the wrong thing?" Smiled. "You will not. I have watched you since you arrived here. You know who you are, you know what we are, just tell them the truth." Appeared beside them. The old instructor had been given a medal by the council for his bravery during the attack. He had tried to refuse it, but they insisted. Now he wore it on his chest, a small piece of silver shaped like a star. "They are ready for you," he said too. She nodded and walked toward the platform. The great hall fell silent as took her place. She could see in the front row, sitting with the representatives. He gave her a small nod of encouragement. Beside him sat, who had apologized to her 3 times since the attack for his initial rudeness. And there was Minu, the glass child she had saved twice now. He waved at her with a tiny crystal hand. The council leader, an ancient being made of pure light, spoke first. Of Earth, you have been asked to speak on behalf of your species. The Galactic Union wishes to understand humans better. We wish to know if humanity can be trusted to join our civilization as full members. Please, tell us what we should know. Looked out at the thousands of faces watching her. She thought about everything that had happened since she arrived. The insults, the tests, the fight with, the battle against the Void Swarm. All of it had led to this moment. She began to speak. You are right to be afraid of us, she said. Her voice was calm and clear. Humans are dangerous. We have always been dangerous. Our history is filled with violence, with war, with destruction. We have killed each other for thousands of years. We have invented weapons that could destroy planets. We have looked into the darkness of our own nature and seen terrible things. The audience shifted uncomfortably. This was not what they had expected to hear. But continued, that is not the whole truth. Yes, we are dangerous, but we have spent 10,000 years learning to control what we are. We have built laws and societies and cultures that teach us to be better. We have taken our violence and turned it into protection. We have taken our anger and turned it into justice. We have taken our fear and turned it into courage. She paused, letting her words sink in. The humans who died on this station did not fight because they hated the Void Swarm. They fought because they loved the students they were protecting. They gave their lives for people they had never met, people from species that had treated them badly. That is what humans do. We protect, we sacrifice, we love. Looked directly at the council leader. We are not asking you to forget what we are. We are not asking you to trust us blindly. We know trust must be earned, but we are asking for a chance to show you that humanity has more to offer than violence, a chance to prove that we can be partners, not threats, a chance to stand beside you as equals. She took a deep breath. On Earth we have a saying. It comes from a time when our world was very different, when we did not know if we would survive. The saying is this: what does not kill us makes us stronger. Humans have survived everything. Ice ages, plagues, wars, asteroids. Each time we came back stronger than before. And now we are here in your galaxy asking not to be feared but to be understood. Stepped back from the platform. She had said what she came to say. Now the council would decide. The silence stretched for a long moment. Then slowly something unexpected happened. Stood up. The prince, who had mocked her on her first day, rose from his seat and began to clap. The sound of his crystal hands coming together echoed through the hall. Stood next, then Minu. One by one, students and representatives rose to their feet, applauding. The council leader watched this display with interest. When the applause finally faded, he spoke. We have heard your words of Earth. We have seen your actions. The council will need time to deliberate, but I believe I speak for many when I say that humanity has surprised us. Perhaps it is time for the galaxy to be surprised. 3 days later, the vote was announced. By a margin of 173 to 27, the Galactic Union voted to fully integrate humans into galactic society. Not as primitives, not as dangerous beasts to be watched and controlled, but as equals. The announcement was broadcast to every planet in the galaxy. On Earth, people celebrated in the streets. On distant colonies, humans cried with joy. After 100 years of being treated as second-class citizens of the universe, they were finally accepted. Watched the celebrations from her window in dormitory level 7. She had refused to move to a better room. This was where her journey had started, and she wanted to remember that. There was a knock at her door. She opened it to find standing there, looking uncomfortable. "May I come in?" he asked. "Yes," He stepped inside and looked around at her small, simple room. "You really refuse the better dormitory." "I do not need it." Was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that clearly took a great deal of effort. "I want to thank you, not just for saving my life during the attack, but for showing me how wrong I was. I have spent my whole life believing I was superior to everyone else. You taught me that strength comes in many forms." Smiled. "We all have things to learn, even humans, especially humans." "Will you teach me?" asked. "I want to understand humans better. I want to understand you." "I would like that." And so began an unlikely friendship between a human girl and a prince. They trained together, studied together, learned from each other, taught about galactic politics and alien cultures, taught about human history and human resilience. 1 month later, the new semester began. A transport shuttle landed at the Academy docking bay, and 12 human students walked off. They were the first class of humans to attend Celestial Prime Academy as full members of the Galactic Union. Was waiting for them at the entrance. Beside her stood and who had been promoted from janitor to cultural liaison officer. "Welcome to the Academy," said to the new arrivals. "I know you are probably nervous. I know people have told you that you do not belong here, but I want you to know something important." She looked at each of them, remembering how scared and alone she had felt on her first day. "You are human. That means you are stubborn and brave and capable of more than anyone expects. Do not let anyone tell you what you cannot do. Do not hold back. Show them what humanity is made of." The new students nodded, their eyes bright with determination. Smiled and turned to walk into the academy. For just a moment, the light caught her eyes in a certain way, and the new students saw something that made them shiver. Behind those soft brown eyes, behind that gentle smile, they caught a glimpse of what humans really were. Apex predators, survivors, warriors who had conquered their own world and now stood at the edge of conquering the stars. The galaxy had welcomed humans at last. And nothing would ever be the same.